all the questions and any comments. You can drop them in the chat so that we can answer them at towards the end of our session. So feel free to put your comment, your chat questions here on the chat. So we are so much delighted to have our speaker with us, ready to start our session, and it's very much happy. You can see she must be enjoying. So, uh, and so members are still joining in. We even go to we are very many, so I hope you'll get to see most of us as we continue with time. But is it a good time to start?
Maybe as people roll through, may I just suggest we say a hello? Maybe you can share quick words about the community, and
Yeah.
I'll ask a few questions because I want this to be interactive. I want to know more about you. I'm so inspired to be here because of you. I'm actually in Nairobi, Nakuru National Park, with my family. Wanted to make sure I participate in this because I really want to inspire and empower talented youth like you. So I would like to hear a little more. So as you introduce yourselves, if Nicholas, you could tell me a little bit about the community, but members of the community that are on this chat, please tell us in the chat what you're doing right now and why you're here today to join a you know
Google
GIS.
Attention GIS community.
Yes, exactly, the GE. So why you're here and why environment. So yeah, put it in the chat. I'm reading it. And Nicholas, let me turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit more about this community. I'm sure the community knows, but I want to make sure we've had an initial chat, but I want to make sure I gear what I'm going to say very, very
Yes.
specifically to what you share with me.
Yeah. Okay. So, for brief introduction, myself, I'm Nicholas Musau. I'm a graduate from Jomo Kenyatta University. Then, this is the GE community, which means it's the geospatial and also the, the geospatial community of developers. Now, how it came about it is that it was initiated by the Google Program Manager in Nairobi. We were doing a presentation in geospatial using the Google technologies. Then our presentation was quite outstanding because nobody else had used this Google Cloud platform called Google Earth Engine. So this led to creation of our community because this program manager wanted us to train more people about Google Earth Engine, and the interest where it came from is about most of the environmental and climate issues which are facing our country, especially in the environment, the drought, the flood, disasters, and all that. So we felt that it was a good initiative, be inspired by the program manager to get started and to inspire, to train so many of Google developers, because what we had discovered is that most of the developers, programmers, the web developers, the machine learning engineers, the Android developers, they have all this knowledge, but there was a gap. They had not utilized their technology, their technical skills in solving impact problems like climate-based problems. So his inspiration was that we need to teach, we need to train, we need to inspire most of these Google developers to use their skills in building sustainable, innovative climate tech solutions. So then is when we took the initiative and then we started this community ourselves. Our background is not in GIS, but we are so much privileged to have Michael, one of us who is an organizer, is a GIS developer. he has been leading the GIS community while he was in university, so he's a granted community lead for GIS, but we adopted him. Oh, this is so nice, and we really much appreciate having GIS expert here with us, who is Michael Wafula. For me, I'm a data scientist. I'm currently working in the bank, and Michael Wafula, he can also introduce himself. Christopher, he can also introduce himself, and we get to know each one of us as time goes on. Much great. Michael, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Nick, for that nice presentation for our speaker. We are proud of her. Yeah, so just like Nicholas said, I'm Wafula Michael Wekesa, a geospatial scientist, but currently I'm working as a lecturer at a regional center for mapping of resources here at Nairobi, Kasarani. Yeah, so we are very grateful for this day. So I'm part of the organizers, and we are looking forward to hearing from our speaker today. And I hope we will all learn. Just Nicholas has said, I do geospatial projects, and I'm very inspired uh, to be a geospatial scientist. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. Yes,
Okay.
Christopher, please. Chris.
Hi, Chris. I think we're not able to hear you. You don't seem on unmute, but for some reason, can't hear you.
Chris.
Hi.
Yes,
Yes.
Now
thank
you're
you.
holding.
Okay. So thank you so much, Nicholas, and again thank you so much, Puja, for coming. We are happy to have you here. So Christopher, currently working as a data scientist in a manufacturing industry here in Kenya. So I don't have much to say right now. Just looking forward
Sure.
to the very interactive session from you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Great. It looks like this is a good introduction, and I'm seeing lots of comments on the chat. Please keep it coming for those of you who have not mentioned where you're from, what you're doing, what brings you here today. I see people from Australia, Nigeria, and of course, Kenya. Very, very inspiring. So, Nicholas, if it's okay with you, maybe I can go ahead and share my screen and jump into. I have 45 minutes, so I'm going to jump into the presentation today. What I'd like to share with you today. Share your entire screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. Yes.
It's coming up. Now it's nice. It's visible.
Alrighty, great.
Mm,
So,
wonderful. Nice. Okay.
I'm going to talk to you about environmental sustainability in a digital world and why it matters. My goal, I'm not a GIS expert. I do work with, I'm a data analyst by training. I'll also share a little bit with you on my background, but my hope is to really utilize technology for good, for the earth, for our planet. And, each of us have a responsibility. And with our skill set, which is extremely rare, data scientists are so sought after, so are GIS specialists, so are, model builders, and I think we have a huge responsibility going forward, and I'll take you through why. I'll give you a few examples of what UNEP is doing in this space so it gives you some inspiration. And then I'll leave you with a challenge, and we can just talk about how we're going to move forward with the challenge, because I think what's most interesting is we apply some of this learning into something practical, something that's open source. It is thundering, so in case you see me running with my laptop, it's begun raining, and I'm seeking shelter. So a very quick introduction. I started actually in product design in India, where I was born. But then I started working in the US, where I went into strategy because I wanted to understand why we design the things we do. And there's a very strategic thinking process, right, that leads to what we design. That took me to advertising when I worked with Nike and P&G on creating their global digital platforms like Nike Running, Nike Stadiums. But then I really got into data, and I wanted to know the data that informs the strategy in many instances. So I went back to school to do a master's in data driven communications. And in the meantime, I took a break from the advertising work because really I got burnt out. When I got out, graduated, I started, and in parallel, I started working with technology startups in Paris and Indonesia. And I realized that I didn't want to make deeper pockets deeper. I wanted to give back to the environment. If I was staying up working till 10 o'clock, I wanted to make sure it went to a good cause, right? And so I started applying, and I am currently, for the last 4 years, at UN Environment Program, where I'm working on leading all web platforms. But I also work as part of the Digital Transformation Task Force, and I'm currently back at school. I'm studying the Chief Digital Officer program, which involves business decisions and AI, robotics, and everything else in between. So, with that in mind, I'm going to talk to you about the environmental landscape. This is no surprise to folks like you, right? We are already in the fourth industrial revolution, and it's a radical shift. It's If you haven't felt it already, it's a huge shift in the way we live, the way we work and relate to each other, and it's only going to get worse, right? Not worse, but more accentuated. And you can see this in all areas. Amazon is optimizing all kinds of supply chains. Netflix is increasingly, offering services and software, digital formats. Business models are evolving from product to services, and companies are offering Internet of Everything, automated products, right? And this is also in terms of the way we receive and interact with it. Our cognition is changing, right? We're on the mobile for 4+ hours, and all of that is guided by algorithms. On social, we are connecting. We're 4 billion. That's half the population of the planet connected on social media, and 2 million joining every day. In terms of economy, 2 billion users and buyers are on e-commerce, and IoT and IoE devices are in billions. And governance, it might be surprising, but 80% of countries are using some sort of e-governance tool. So all of this is powered by interconnectivity, automation, algorithmic decision making, right? But what does it do for the environment? Have a look at this slide while I jump into, because the rain is coming. I'm going to jump indoors. Look at this side carefully and give me a minute, please, if you don't mind.
Yes, sure, we are going to give it.
Sorry.
Uh,
All right. So,
yes, see.
but what does all this disruption mean for the environment, right? On the plus side, this digital disruption means like the values are being encoded, right? So there's a lot to say about what the power of algorithms, right? We're changing economic incentives, yeah, at exponential speed. We are creating planetary intelligence, and there's an increased agency for people to contribute to environmental solutions. That's why you, me, all of us are here today. But on the negative side, what's happening because of this hyper digital acceleration, hyper consumption, e waste generation, energy demand, metal and mineral outputs, rebound effects, misinformation and polarization, and the digital divide, because not everyone has access to these, right? So we are now standing at a very pivotal moment in human history. This digital revolution, if done right, could be the single largest opportunity to really achieve system level changes that are aligned to the sustainable development goals, that is, planetary health and people livelihoods. Or, if not right, it could be the largest risk to entrench business as usual and accelerate the date. So, harnessing this power, the digital power, while mitigating the risks, right, will require collaboration from governments, companies, civil society, and communities such as ourselves. So, what is UN Environment Program doing? So, we're tackling the challenge head on. We are looking at three specific areas: climate, nature, and pollution. And we are hoping to really harness the power of digital exponential transformation to accelerate and really amplify the impact across these three areas and bring transparency to the knowledge of the state of our planet. So digital technologies that we are looking into, these are, I won't go into details, but you can definitely see that there's, you know, AR, cloud, edge computing, ML, NLP, deep learning, IoT, IoE, social, blockchain, digital twins, and satellites and drones. Here are a couple of examples that we've done before. This is UNEP and Air IQ, and basically it is a real-time interactive dashboard that it gives you pollution hotspots, almost real time, and it acts as a catalyst for air quality improvement. I won't go into the details, but most of us breathe polluted air, and that causes a lot of health issues. And most countries don't really have any monitoring infrastructure in place. And it's not just a finance issue, but it's also lack, sorry about the background noise, lack of technology or lack of skills, right? So the top one is the dashboard. It's called Air IQ. So I'll put up or share some links later. And so this is made use with sensors that are placed on the ground as well as satellites. And then you can see that we're, with the help of localized sensors, we're able to put up billboards on highways where it says air quality at Magati Way unhealthy. This is the real time pollution data, right? So you can see how this is impacting, because we want citizens to know and raise the groundswell on it. So this is another example. It's called Countermeasure, and it excites me a lot because this is geospatial, drone, UGC, and other technology that looks into minimizing plastic waste in rivers. So only there are most of the 10 rivers that are responsible for the 95% of the plastic waste. And this project maps those rivers, looks at where the plastic hotspots are along the river, and then works with local municipalities and governments to, to create, action. So, for example, they realized in a city called Agra, which is a tourist hotspot of India for the Taj Mahal, right? They noticed that there were a lot of plastic hotspots there. And when they zoomed in and started looking at the photos from the UGC, they realized that there's just not a proper waste management system there. So they worked with the local municipalities to set up bins at a very basic level, which really started to show impact on the ground. So I'm sharing these with you because ultimately water is, leads, it's for our sanitation, it is for life in water, and even life on land on the coast. So it's really, and all of this affects not just nature, but people and people's livelihoods too. This is fascinating project of response system. So the examples that I showed you of climate nation, make no mistake, all three are interlinked. It's the triple planetary crises. So you cannot really separate the biodiversity loss from the climate issue or the pollution issue from the biodiversity. It's all a big trilogy, right? Anyway, so this is a direct sort of climate project. So methane, everyone talks about CO2 emissions, right? But methane is a deadly gas. It is short-lived, but it takes about, it's much more, it traps more heat in the atmosphere. And so the biggest industries that do release methane are the energy sector, oil, gas, coal, and then of course agriculture, livestock, waste, and landfills. So UNEP leads the International Methane Observatory, which works with different stakeholders to catalog methane discharge. But we're just in the process of launching the methane alert response system. It is a global standardized data platform that monitors methane plumes and alerts stakeholders for action. So, because this is a somewhat geospatial community, I want to share some deeper insight into this. So, it's really based on an AI centric operating model. So our first goal is to detect and attribute the methane plumes. So the data is collected via satellites and member and publicly available data. And I'll go into that later. Then through simple classification models, it's able to alert or at least establish and then set up alerts to inform stakeholders, and then the platform allows for stakeholders to put in action. And finally, this then data gets fed back into the system itself. So where's the data coming from? In terms of geospatial data, they are working with the Copernicus sensor map to identify very large plumes and hotspots. And so some of basically has the resolution and visible near infrared, short infrared, and spectral bands, which is able to, most importantly, able to detect methane. And so every 20, there's more data, like we also use member data, facility is pulled into a neural network. It's a all of this is then repeatedly optimized as well. So you saw some examples. This is the satellite data and environment. These are some examples. I won't go through it in detail. I'll share the
Okay, so I think our speaker is experiencing some challenges, but she should be able to join back soon.
Okay, okay.
Now, as she joins, I wanted to say that our last presentations and our last sessions, they are in our blog and also in our GitHub repository. I do think that Christopher shared with you these links. So should there be anyone not be able to access, you can let us know through the chat, then we will be able to share with you right back. Then, because now the speaker is in the control of the session today, to mention a few things for the next session is that we are going to have another session the coming Saturday. This will be working on machine learning also in a different aspect. So you are much welcome. So you can also join us that day and you'll be able to get to learn so much. So, but as of now, I believe we have seen how potential is the satellite data which we are using. Now, the beauty with the Google Attention is that we are not using our data. We are using satellite data, which is publicly available in Google Attention catalog, which I believe it's really free. It's really free, but it is really free. But if in case you want to do commercial works, you can go for the premium service, which is now you can get data with more visibility, and also which is much better. Now our speaker is saying that the rains are heavy there, and she's trying to get in, so she's coming up. So the rains are really heavy on our side.
Okay, guys, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are here.
I'm so
We are.
sorry. It is really bad rain, and I think the Wi-Fi went off. So tell me, when did I lose you?
You left us at a point whereby you are explaining the satellite data and then the environment.
Okay, so was it here?
Please share.
Yes,
Yes,
it was
yes.
there actually.
Okay, so let me not get into too much detail here. I will leave this presentation with Nick so you can take a deeper look. But satellite data can be used for climate, nature, and pollution in all respects, from monitoring Earth's temperatures to deforestation to monitoring air pollution and helping authorities identify the sources, all of that, right? So I wanted to throw out a challenge with this community. Like, what is an environmental challenge you could solve with your GEE community? Because it's really interesting to build that elasticity between the community and then for your community, right? That is the question. Some of the starting points when we speak to the ministers of Kenya, the environmental issues that they are tackling most with, and this should be no surprise to you, right? We know that the north of our country has been in drought and so the 6th year running. And even though these heavy rains are coming, they could only cause flash floods, and there are flash droughts too, if you've heard of them. There's deforestation, which is a huge issue as well, and of course, biodiversity loss. And so, what's happening closer to home in Nairobi then? We are having a severe issue with our main river, right? There are open dump sites and there's also air pollution. But let me inspire you, provoke you a little bit. And this is our river. And the picture is not very good, but the Nairobi River runs um, through a lot of the manufacturing facilities that do not process their waste and dump it straight, which is why you see that black color. It also passes through Kibera, and they use the water for cooking and washing, and it has eventually become a bit of a dead river because of that, right? So I am asking you to look at your area, your community closely, and see what kind of issues you could tackle, whether it's using, partnering with a GIS specialist, looking at what the open source data that is available, and maybe looking at simple, some of you mentioned your data scientists working on AI, looking at simple models, whether it's supervised learning, or I don't know, even I don't know how deep you're into this, but some neural networks, decision trees, things like that you could build to help drive transparency around the environmental issue, climate, nature, or pollution, that would essentially be open source and for the benefit of the community, and maybe also to inspire and give the policymakers, your government, a very easy tool to see what is really going on. And so I want to throw out a couple of days. The World Environment Day is coming. It's on June 5th, which is why Nick and I thought we should get this challenge out. And then there's also the Pollution Related Day on 6th of September. And this is a nice way of exposing your project, right? And sharing it with the world so that you get more exposure for it. So that is it really. But I wanted to just end with, how do you contribute, right? Make your data fair, publish it make it open source under the digital public goods license if possible. Then this is something that I wanted to share with you. We have a multi-stakeholder community of change makers and practitioners, and it's called CODES, Coalition of Digital Environmental Sustainability. And what it does is it helps collaborate in terms of accelerating the digital planetary sustainability, right? Anyone can join, anyone can participate. There are ministers of Kenya, Germany, there's academia, there's individuals, there's civil society. So you can have a voice there in shaping the dialogue and shaping these documents and white papers. And yeah, more of what you're doing, guys. Participate in more digital communities, share your knowledge with others, and more. And with that, let me hand over. I'm so sorry about the interruption, but I would love to do a few Q&A and then pass it back to Nick in terms of how, knowing Nick, you know the community really well. So I would love to hear from you and others on how we can shape and whip this challenge into something substantial. I don't mind coming in again and helping shape it further, but I'd love to A, hear questions on what I presented, and B, talk about how we're going to shape this challenge going forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Roger, for your nice presentation and giving us a challenge. We had earlier discussed about our work, and you can see that all our efforts, all what we have been able to do previously is tallying, is matching what our speaker is presenting today. So this is one of a real life application project which we could make a try and see how best we can deploy, we can make impact to our society. The beauty of our community is a multi-talent, is a multi-skilled, because we have geospatial, we have data scientists, we have web developers, and all these skills combined together can come up with a very nice presentation, with a very nice project which is climate based. So with this, I would want to open a very short Q&A to our speaker. To all our members, please, should you be having any question regarding our challenge, regarding anything, please, you just go on, ask rightly. We can also want to hear your voices, you chat, so you have the freedom to open your mic and make your query audible to us. So it's open for our members, please. Any question, any comment, anything, please, to our speaker.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Njoroge from Kenya. Also, pardon my manners, your first name is giving me munches. Well, for the question, it's on three sides, or well, it's two questions and one comment. So you mentioned you're at UNEP at Bama. Do you have any active collaboration with startups in the same geospatial, that remote sensing field within the climate space? The second is more, we have a UNEP office here in Nairobi. For companies within the same space, which would be the best, which would you recommend for companies to actually approach the office? More or less the avenues, or more or less the avenues. The last, I would like to suggest for the GE project, we evaluate the methane, the sulfur data using the tropomite data for the Nairobi industry area. I think it may go a long way.
Thank you, Njoroge. Please pardon me if I didn't get all of your questions. I'm going to try. So the first one is about remote sensing. If there are any projects on UNEP that does remote sensing. So if you actually look at Countermeasure, the one that I shared earlier, based on the rivers, it uses a combination of remote sensing and but that is in Asia, and it is a combination of remote sensing, IoT, user generated content, meaning photographs that go in photo, and drones as well. So it's a combination of different sorts of data that come in. The second one, I couldn't really hear you. Could you? I've stepped out of the room, but do you think you could repeat that question or put it in the chat box?
Yes, it's more of a UNEP collaboration with companies in the remote sensing space.
Right.
Yeah, the best avenues to approach whether there's any ongoing collaborations with companies in the same space.
This is a great question. We set up something called the Digital Transformation Task Force. So UNEP has primarily been in the normative space, which is the science, right? But we do have a lot of projects on the ground, and we have set up a new division called Digital Transformation, which is application of technologies, how to use AI fairly within environmental practices, that kind of thing. I don't believe we have any active partnerships because, as I said, we have been more or less on the normative front, but we are, this is why I'm here today. We are building collaboration. So if you know any East African remote sensing startup or organization, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to chat more because I think that we need to tap into East African solutions as much as possible. Yeah. And I think you had a third question.
Third question was more of a suggestion. Or suggesting that for GE, we look into using the TripleMy data to forecast or to assess the methane, the sulfur emissions within the
Right.
Nairobi industrial area.
I love it. I think I will leave that for you guys to do maybe breakouts. I don't know how you do projects, but I see some folks from different countries or different areas. So I mean, I think there are quite a number. So I will hand the floor back to you guys to drive how you want to sort of organize this, and I'm happy to guide and bounce up ideas, and even pull up some UNEP signs or maybe data sets, open data sets that you could tap into for once you decide on a direction. Thanks, Njoroge.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for the nice presentation. I must say it has been very informative, and it was well presented. So mine would be just to comment about, or rather to maybe to give a way forward on the project you've just mentioned about River Nairobi management, waste management. As a community, we have the capability of handling the project, especially considering we have a lot in store. For example, we have Nixon here, who is a data scientist. We have Christopher, who is also a data scientist in machine learning. I'm here, the geospatial scientist and expert. So we can always come up with an idea on how, yes.
Yeah, I'm listening to you, just feeling very inspired. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, okay, no problem. So I was saying, as a group, we have the capability of coming up with a nice idea and try to at least alleviate the problem that we are facing uh, of waste management in Nairobi, to be specific, Nairobi River. So
Yeah.
with the capability of data science, machine learning, and geospatial knowledge, we can always bring that knowledge on board and try to provide solution for the same. So me and Nick and Christopher had talked about this earlier, about your suggestion, and we are having an idea.
Great.
Yes, for the same. So maybe just like you have just mentioned about the data set. Normally with geospatial projects, the issue is data set, especially for us to get now at least a higher resolution data set in
Yes.
terms of spatial resolution.
Yes.
And and then maybe in situ data, so that we can now do the machine learning modeling and training, as per se.
Yeah, Michael, I'm so inspired because I've been concerned about the Nairobi River because it affects millions of, the less fortunate, and it is our most popular river, and it's a dead river today, right? And
Yes.
I think that if we collectively, I'm happy to also pull in, help, guide, bounce ideas off, but if we can collectively create a transparency platform where people can see these hotspots, right, along the river. And one is there are two issues there. One is like the industrial waste that goes in inside, and then I actually encourage. I will send everyone some material if this is the case, because I'll send you details about the countermeasure project. We did the same with Asia's biggest rivers.
Okay.
What they did is, like I mentioned before, they combined satellite data and drone data, and for when they were getting cloud cover, for example.
Yes.
And they also got user generated content, so maybe we could also include it, like tweet it to us or something, so we could actually match it. There are two issues here. One is the chemicals and the pollutants that go into the water, which might be difficult to do without sensors and things like that, right? But the other one is plastic material on the picture that I showed you, right? And I don't know, maybe you guys have to run some tests to see if that kind of material can be viewed, because I know the resolution is an issue. So maybe you guys, maybe my first step will be to send you some material on that.
Okay.
Also send you another platform that we work on. It's called the SDG 6.1 Explorer, and that is much more nuanced. It actually work. We actually work with Google
Okay.
and also sensors to map the quality of water. But it goes now into the color of the water, which then maps back to what the health of the water might look like.
Okay.
So have a chat as a team. Come back to me with what you want to explore so I can send you the material for it, and let's see what we can pull off together.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, thank you for that concern. So maybe as you share the material, we also be working on documentation, some kind of a proposal on how maybe we're going to handle the project or the challenge in terms of the methodology and all that. Because I see, in as much as the satellite imagery might have cause resolution, but with the knowledge of, I think, Google Earth Engine and computer vision, we can always try to find a way of identifying like plastics and all that, because they behave differently in in the satellite imagery. So we will try to at least come up with the documentation over the same, and we will reach out to you. As you also share the material, we will be very
Yeah.
grateful actually.
Yes, yes, of course. And once we have a sort of rough approach, I'm so in favor of working agile. Just build simple prototype, at a very small scale. And I most importantly, like I think I'm here to challenge you and coax you or massage you guys into the business value proposition, right? So, what are
Yes,
we doing this for? We're doing this so that policymakers can see exactly where the problem is, that citizens can see where exactly the problem is, and ultimately, we want to drive action, right? We don't want our rivers, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's Australia, whether it's Kenya, we don't want our rivers to be polluted and affecting the planet and affecting our health and our children's health, right?
yes, yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Nick,
Okay.
you can take over.
So thank you very much, Michael, for that. And what I would say is that for us, we are good. We are good in developing the good proposal, the methodology. We'll design a good system design analysis, the methodology very nicely worked for. So we are going to develop that. Then next, we are going to develop that during this week. Then in collaboration with our speaker. Then on Saturday, we are going to discuss it on the approach in how we are going to work on this, because now that this is going to be an open source project, an open source challenge, so it will be open for contribution. So as you have noticed, some of most of our members, we are not only based in Nairobi, we have members from Nigeria, Australia, and US. We we have never had a physical event, so whenever we advertise our event, everybody from every part of the world gets to join, and some of them, they are very consistent, because as we for us now who are moderating this, we can get to see all the consistent members, and some of them, they are not all from Nairobi. So it's really much interesting and very much imperative for us to have this project as open source, for to make it everybody be able to contribute. So we are going to work in
Yes.
a in a
Nick,
an approach.
Nick, I was going to
Yes,
commend
please.
you on that, because I think what will happen is if we build something that is sort of adoptable, the whole I touched on this is the digital divide, right? The global north has money, resources. Yet some countries like Madagascar, trust me, like today I have an emergency, and which is why my internet got off. But let's say Madagascar or Gambia, even ministers don't have access. Cote d'Ivoire, even ministers don't have access to internet. So how will they progress, and I'm so passionate about this, which is why open source is huge for me, because if we as a collective community are able to build something small that's scalable, modular, and can be adapted, I feel like there can be huge virality and rollover of benefits.
Exactly. So I think our idea is really nice. So we are going to work on a methodology and a very nice system design approach, which we are going to share with you on the coming Saturday, which will be built now with the resources being brought up with our speaker and also our research, which we have, and our skills, which we'll have already developed. So we are going to have this. Then on the way on how to work on it, either in groups or the approach we are going to implement the projects, we are going to do it. We are going to share that on that Saturday. But should you be having a very great idea, should you be willing to collaborate with us while we are designing this, you are free to reach us. I have already shared with you our Google group, which now we are growing very fast. We have almost 100 members registered. That means that this is a growing community. So, so we are going to work on that approach, the proposal, the system design methodology, and share with you that day. Then we'll be able to understand how. So if you have skills in web, skills in machine learning, skills in GIS, please, you feel free to reach us during that time. So for me, I have not much on my side, but anybody with anything, please be able to talk to us, please. So anybody with any comment, then our speaker share.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
please.
mine maybe is to stress. Chris, share the Google group. You can see our speaker is requesting. Um,
Okay,
yes, Christopher. No.
here it is. I'm just posting it right
Oh, okay.
now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That is our Google group. You can just request to
Great.
join.
Nick, let's connect offline to figure out when we meet next. I want to make
Yes,
sure that I'm in a sound internet safe environment so we can really work well. Apologies, many apologies for the interruption, but I'm hoping you guys found some use. And I'll
yes,
share other data platforms that we have, so you are inspired. And I hope this session inspired you to really get passionate, because your skills are so unique, and it's great to earn a paycheck. But I think the biggest question I always ask myself is, why am I here on this planet? What is my role? What am I doing larger than myself? Am I really contributing to something bigger than me? And see what you hear intuitively, right?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. All
Sorry
right.
for that. So thank you so much, Roger. We are going to meet offline as we have discussed. Then we align on all this. But you be rest assured that we are going to work on something smart, something great for our
And
community.
please count me in. I want us to work together as a group, and I'm here to support you and see how far we can take it for Kenya, East Africa, and then the world, right?
Yes.
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 Yes,
How
yes.
grateful is it to work with you,
Yes.
an innovator?
I'm also keen to hear from our friends in Australia and Nigeria. Reach out to me or through the group, the GE developers group, and tell us what you think and how you might be able to apply it. Would love to know, because we want to know that these ripples are moving on from here much, much further and coming back to us. I myself am excited because I will learn so much from you guys. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Nick.
Thank you so much, Foja, and you have a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, and
Thank
hope to see you soon. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay.
Bye.
We apologize. Bye, bye, bye. Okay. So,
Yeah.
Christine, so yes, Michael, please, you can tell us something as we wind up.
Yeah. So just like you had mentioned before the speaker left, so
Yes.
we need to organize ourselves so that we can see how we're going to get that project up and running. I believe we
Yes.
have the capability of doing it and doing it the best way, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it's all about just organizing and having a good proposal. And then now, after we reach out to the speaker, so that she can be
Yes.
able now to facilitate with us data and all that. And I think we'll be good to go, so that we can be able now to present it maybe during the time of the environment day. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yes, and
that's
also
what
the pollution.
yes.
Also the pollution day.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much. And for as we have said, for us, we are going to make the leap by by developing a good